everyone, it's Grace talking about my upcoming middle grade novel, The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon, again. It comes out May 6th, so I would so appreciate it if you pre-ordered. Pre-orders really help authors a lot. As I've said, you can pre-order the book from anywhere, Barnes & Noble, even the Big A, but my two local indie bookstores have special gifts if you pre-order from them. You can get an enamel pin from Porter Square Books or a sticker from High Five Books. So I hope that entices you. And I hope you've been staying on and listening to the quick culture bonus content I've been sharing at the end of the episodes. They are all the different real-life inspirations for the book, and I hope they will help you enjoy the book even more.
Hi, I'm Alvina Ling.
And I'm Grace Lynn.
And we're book friends
forever!
We're childhood friends
who grew up to be
a children's book editor
and an author and illustrator.
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the Independent Publishing with Janet Bruins episode.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at bookfriendsforever_podcast.
So as you can tell from if you're watching this on video or from our episode title, we have a special guest joining us, Janet Bruins. Hi, Janet.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
So Janet is the founder and publisher of Picnic Heist, which I want to hear all about, which is a publishing house dedicated to creating beautiful, standout picture books with purpose and heart. So welcome, Janet. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more for our listeners?
Sure. Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me on. My name is Janet. And like what Alvina said, we started Picnic Heist not too long ago. And before that, I actually have no publishing experience. So coming into this brand new, I started Picnic Heist because I love picture books, started collecting them, and I just started following the authors and the illustrators, chasing them down, trying to get their autograph. And Grace, I do need yours as well because your book is on my shelf as well. And recently I wrote a book that just got published as well. So it's called Expecting It All: More Time, Money, Energy, and Space for Mothers. So going through that journey as a writer and getting published, I realized that combining with what I spoke to many of the authors, that publishing industry is a little different and there could be room for improvement. And so this is kind of my vision of what I would love publishing to be. Therefore, I started a publishing house.
Yeah,
This is
that's
the quick
exciting.
intro.
And I should say that you were referred to us by Julie Shina, who was a guest on
Yes.
our podcast a couple, maybe 3 episodes ago. And she's a consultant for you. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So
She helps us with the editing. She's so wonderful.
she is wonderful. Okay, well, so as always, we start off by catching up with each other's lives. But so we'll start. Grace, how about you? How have you been?
Okay. Let's see. How have I been? Well, we just talked on Friday, so not that much has happened. But
A whole weekend has passed.
a whole weekend. But I did actually, when I last talked to you, I think I was saying that I thought I was probably going to go to the local march. I can't remember. I remember I was waffling, but I did actually go to the local hands-off march, and it was raining. And it was really nice. It was really nice to see so many people out there. I specifically went to the march to fight my own cynicism. I still feel a bit cynical, but I do feel better knowing that there's so many people who feel similarly. Well, maybe they don't feel cynical, but feel like feel have similar values than me, have similar values with me. Is that correct? So that was really nice. So that's what I did on the weekend. I also did my taxes, which was just, so much fun. The exciting thing was that Hazel got her braces off, which is really exciting. And so that's
Wait, so how long has she had braces?
So I think since 5th grade, so like 2 years now. So it's really exciting because it's right before Easter, and she's gotten she's like, I can eat all these sticky caramels now. So it's really good.
I remember when I got my braces off and my teeth felt really slimy. Has she talked about that at
She
all?
hasn't talked about it, and she
Okay.
actually is very kind of secretive about it. I'm like, let me see. And she's like, she will like give me like a little glance, and then she
That's
won't.
funny. It's like the opposite.
I know. She's just really she's always a little cagey. She gets it from Alex. So but I think can tell that she is happy to get them off, if only because now she can eat these sticky caramels again. And let's see. And the last thing I'll mention is that I started sharing my quick culture videos, which is a little series of videos that I did that I'm sharing some of the real culture behind my upcoming book, The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon. And I think if people who are listening or watching this stay tuned after our episode, they will see one of those videos or hear one of those videos. So I hope they stay and enjoy it. All right, Alvina, how
Awesome.
about you?
Well, I did not participate in any of the marches because we had gotten Broadway show tickets a while ago to a matinee of Maybe Happy Ending, which is a original musical. Um, it came actually from Korea. So I think the creator writer worked with someone in Korea to to put it on, and then they brought it to the US. And it was recommended to us by our new friend that we met at the end of last year at the holiday party, Laura, and
Uh-huh.
she was just waxing poetic about it and saying how amazing it was. So that put us on our radar. And then I saw that Chris Colfer, who's an author I work with, had seen it because it stars Darren Criss, who some people might remember from Glee. Darren Criss played Chris Colfer's character's love interest.
Oh,
Kurt's loves it. He played Blaine, so it's Kurt and Blaine. Anyway, so I thought Chris had seen it, so I asked him, because he posted that he loved it, but you never know. Someone might post.
you
So
have to
I
say
emailed
something
him. I
different
said,
online.
yes. So I said, oh, what did you like? Did you like it? We're thinking about seeing it. And he said, oh, we loved it, and I think you'd love it too. And we did. It was so, the word I would use to describe it is lovely. It was so
Mhm.
lovely. And we went in not really knowing much about it, which I love doing for anything. I just feel like if you don't know much about some piece of art, whether it's a book or a movie or Broadway show, generally you enjoy it more because it's a little bit surprising. So I would really highly recommend it. The stage, I think it's called stagecraft, or this basically how the stage was set up was really original. And the performances were great. It was funny. It was moving. I cried. I laughed. I cried. All the things. So, and then we ended up doing it. So it was like a nice date day, a night, because we ended up using a restaurant gift certificate that I had found when decluttering my my apartment. I forgot I had bid on this during a silent auction, I think to benefit my friend Tracy's kids' schools like pre-pandemic. So the gift certificate was at least 6 or 7 years old, but it did say on it that it never didn't expire. So
Really?
yeah, it was for Tao, which is where Megan actually hosted my anniversary
Uh-huh.
dinner, which was delicious. So we thought, oh, let's go,
I
let's go
can't believe it didn't
check it out.
expire.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of law that was passed that said that gift cards aren't supposed to expire anymore. So,
That's great.
but yeah, so we had a nice dinner, and yeah, just lo a lovely weekend, lazy Sunday. I'm training for my half marathon, so I did a 8 mile run, and that felt good. And now we're here. So, Janet, I know we just met, but how have you been recently? What's been going on?
Pretty busy, but I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And if I may ask, Grace, I don't know if you mentioned it yet. Did you see the puppies? the
Oh,
golden retriever
yes.
puppies?
I want to
Oh
know
no,
that
we have
too.
not seen the golden retriever puppies. Oh, so and it looks like we will not be getting the golden retriever puppies because a
Oh,
couple of different things happened. I mean, a lot of other families were really interested to begin with, and I think it became because they're purebred, they became kind of expensive. And Alex and Hazel have always wanted to have a mutt anyway. Like they've always like we should go get one
yes.
from a
Adopt.
pound and adopt from a pound.
Yeah.
So when it started becoming like so it started becoming not only expensive and also like competitive with other families, we're like, oh, okay, we're at. We'll
Yeah.
take some. We'll get a dog a different way. And honestly, I was kind of relieved. I'm like, I'm not ready yet.
Oh,
I'm not ready yet because we need to get the chickens first and all these things. And also like there's just so many things kind of going on. And yeah. So when both Alex and Hazel were kind of like, okay, we won't get these, we won't be in the running for these golden retriever puppies. I kind of felt this sense of relief and I was like, oh, I guess that was a sign. So,
do you have
but
any pets, Janet?
Oh, I do. I have a very fat cat. She's
oh,
lovely though.
I'd
Yeah,
love to
I've
get a
always
cat.
had a pet. Yeah, they're wonderful. I think they're great.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree.
just it's just because I just know that a puppy is a high maintenance
Mhm.
pet, like, and not that I'm not, I just have never had such a high maintenance pets. I feel like a cat would be a great step if Alex wasn't allergic, because like a cat is not as high maintenance. I mean, chickens is really low maintenance. Then like going up would be cat, and then I feel like then it would be puppy maybe, but looks like we have to skip the cat. But
Yes,
uh,
but how have you been, Janet?
yes,
Are
back
you
to you, Janet.
Uh, yeah, things are going well, and just been really busy because now that we're having books coming out in the fall, and I'm still trying to add to my list. So my goal is to do 10 books per year, and this is a one-woman show, so it's very it gets a little busy, especially when there's like hiccups that's coming up. But so far, loving the spring weather. It's getting very nice here. So,
and where do you live?
I'm near DC, so I'm in
Okay.
the DC
Oh,
area.
so is it cherry blossoms? Are they all blue in
They're
bloom?
gone.
They're
Yeah,
gone already?
Oh,
Oh,
already
yeah.
that's so
mono no
fast.
aware. Fleeting beauty. Here they are. There, I guess the non-Japanese cherry varieties are in bloom, but the Japanese cherry blossoms are not in bloom yet. So we're waiting. It's interesting that it's like it'll sweep up the East Coast, I guess. Well, I'm excited to hear all about Picnic Heist. So, why don't you tell us more about the company? And I'm also curious about how you decided to pick the name.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, sure. We'll start with the name first then.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started it, what I wanted to do is to support authors, to have it really creator driven, to in terms of which type of title that we publish and how we publish them. And at that time, we are picking a name, and my daughter, instead of tea parties, she likes picnic parties. So we
Mhm.
thought the word picnic is really that joyfulness of, childhood, just having a lot of fun with the family as well. And I said picnic heist because I wanted to show that we're not afraid to really seize what we want to publish, and then do as we please in that way without asking for permissions. So this is a way to say that, I feel finally having a choice to say these are the things that we would love to publish. So that's where the name came from.
Nice. And
Yeah.
then,
And
yes, and so you're an independent publisher, but do you work as a traditional publisher? So you have an
yeah,
advance, like for authors, an advance against
yes.
royalties and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, traditional publisher, and I thought a lot about different routes of how to go about doing publishing. And at the beginning, you always kind of think like, okay, wow, the hybrid publishing route is, you can sustain a little bit longer. However, I feel that a lot of creators, a lot of authors, they put so much work into it, and then they feel really important to be traditionally published. And that's
Maybe
what
we
the way
should
that I like to support.
maybe
Mhm.
we should define hybrid publishing and traditional and stuff for our listeners, just in case um, they might be at a loss. So, hybrid publishing. Does somebody else want to take it? What exactly is hybrid publishing?
Janet, I think you should take this since
Sure.
you probably researched the different options.
Yeah, yeah. So if you imagine self-publishing is yourself and then working with, as many people as needed to create a book, hybrid publishing will be having a publisher with that team. So editorial, design, the printer, marketing, and then however, you're paying for all of that. So you're paying for the editor and designer and as a result, as a trade-off, you keep your copyright and then you have you pretty much have like 85% royalty. Whereas in traditional publishing, so you send out your manuscript and you get an advance. So the advance is against royalty, and then the publisher create the book for you. In that way that they, hire the illustrator, they have the editor, designer, and then they also cover the printing costs and marketing. But you know, your publisher will own your copyright and your royalty is not 85%. So
Right. So you
yeah,
decided to go to be a traditional publisher.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So
And
authors and illustrators would send you a manuscript, and if you and you would you do you have like a slush pile, and then you like look through it and then decide what you want to publish, and then you is it so it is just like so
it's like a traditional,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're just
just
very small independent publisher. But
exactly, yeah.
10 books a year is,
10 books a year is quite
I'm aiming
small.
for that, yes.
how, so,
Yeah.
so have you had your launch list yet, or is that coming this fall?
This is, yeah, coming this fall. So we have two titles. One of them is called Milo's Moonlight Mission. So that one is acquisition from Yihu Press. So Yihu is kind of like our big sister. So as a new publisher, what I try to do is to reach out to as many publishers as possible to just try to learn the ropes. And I met Helen Wu, the publisher of Yihu, and she's just been so extremely kind. And so we're taking some of their titles, which I love, and to do a relaunch. So Milo's is one of them. And the other one is called Monkey Sweet Surprise. And that is a zodiac lunar New Year story.
Mhm.
However, different from traditional Chinese zodiac. So this is a Malay zodiac. So instead
Oh,
of the rabbit, you get the cat. And then instead of the goat, you get a sheep, I believe. Yeah. And
interesting.
yeah, no, in a deer. Sorry about
A
that.
deer. I
Instead
was
of the
like,
goat, you get a
yeah, I feel
deer.
like goat and sheep are
Yeah.
interchangeable in the,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, a
So
deer. Okay.
yeah, and yeah, so those are the two that's coming up, and then of course we got more in spring
Hmm.
and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was looking at your website, and you do have a team listed. And Julie is listed, but there are some editors who I recognize from my career. We've crossed paths. So is your team freelance right now, or are they actually on staff? Some of them.
Yeah, no, they're freelance.
Hmm.
So what I wanted to do is to create books that, when you pick it up, you can't tell them apart from the big five.
Hmm.
So really high in quality, both in, the content as well as the printing. And so what I have done is gone through about a few hundred picture books and look at the copyright pages. And then so that's where I find, my favorite editors, my favorite designers, and
Hmm.
I've been working with them. It's been fantastic. And that's actually how I found some of our printer options. Yeah, so at the start, I contacted about like half a dozen printer from all over the world, tried to find the best option. And yeah, we found somebody that we feel like has really high quality um, uh, book printing and binding.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna get in the weeds because I'm really curious. But how who do you have a distributor? Do you have someone who's distributing your
Yes.
books?
Yes, we are very fortunate because we got Ingram as our distributor.
Mm.
So, Publisher Group West, I think is the name as well. Yeah. So, as the world largest distributor, being a small new publisher, that really is something. That means that our books actually has a good fighting chance so I'm trying to do as much as marketing as possible, telling them how great these books are.
Yeah,
And that is all thanks to Helen as well, helping us with that connection.
that's great. Okay, so let's back up. You
Uh,
talked a little bit about this when you introduced yourself, but um, I guess I'd love to hear a little bit more about,
Yeah.
how you decided to start your publishing company, and then like what was your first step? Like, if sometimes I think, oh, maybe someday I'll start a publishing company, but I who have worked in publishing for over 25 years, I'm like, I don't know what I would do first.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the talking to authors, especially with the books that I love, what I hear sometimes is, especially from minority or diverse book authors, they mention that sometimes there just seems like there may be a quota to the type of story that they want to tell, as well as certain ways that, the publisher is asking them to tell these stories. And so they're not necessarily giving the authors that freedom. And I thought, well, that's to me, it always should come from the creator to meet that creative vision. So the the way that I would say how we're different is that for the author, we ask the author right off the bat, which is the illustrators you like to work with. So right now we're producing exclusively picture books. So we have our authors name the illustrators, and then I go and chase them down and see which one we can work with together. And we have also the authors very much participating in the whole illustration process. So, from my understanding is that sometimes authors don't necessarily see the illustration until, I've heard authors saying that they don't see anything until they get the book in hand, which I think is like crazy. Like,
No,
how
I
can
mean,
you work with that?
I maybe there's
Yeah,
some publishers like that, but definitely
yeah,
not
but
at Little Brown.
not to yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, so I want them to work together in every step of the way, so that they can really create a vision, because I think all that trust and the collaboration can bring out the really great creativity. The other thing that I wanted to do is in terms of the profit sharing. So to me, I feel having written a book and then produce it, I I feel so much work goes into it. And what I wanted to do is that to give the highest possible royalty. So beforehand, Alvina, yes, how I started. So I went through a lot of spreadsheets, and
Mhm.
then I came up with a royalty percentage, which I kind of call it the maximum amount that we can give, so that a runaway success won't bankrupt us. So, as you know, like if the cost of producing a book
Mhm.
is just a few cents more than the profit, than what we get in the revenue, then let's say you sell millions of copies, that will bankrupt you. So that's kind of where we set the royalty at. And so regardless of whether you're a first-time author, you're a New York Times bestselling author, which we have both, we offer the exact same thing, and then we feel like that's a fair way to really give back to the author for all of the work that they put in. Um, yeah, so those are some of the differences. Um,
So, so how quickly did it go from, I think I want to do this to today, I guess? Like how long ago were
I
you
was
planning
thinking
this?
about, yeah, I thought about it for a while and what kind of books I want to publish. And it wasn't until because um, I thought about different types of books, and then I really thought, like, I don't like these types of book enough to really be a publisher and read those manuscripts all day. But what happened was that in early last year, I went to a African American and children's literature symposium in Washington, D.C., where I was chasing down Kwame Alexander to get
Mhm.
his autograph. And so I stayed and I listened to everything. And I approached my first author. Her name she's Cara Olivia Heron. So she is the New York Times bestselling author of Nappy Here, and she was telling her author story on stage. So I approached her and then I pitched her my publisher idea, and she said, I think you're the publisher I've been looking for. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I gotta really do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's how I
So
got
that was
started.
you said that was last winter?
Last winter, yes.
So it's last winter meaning what,
Uh,
2020?
2024, like I would say February, March.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's been about a year. Wow,
Oh,
yes.
that is
wow, that's really
fast.
fast.
And how many books do you have in the pipeline right now?
In the pipeline, I would say about I should have counted. More than half a dozen, less than 10. So about like about 8 or 9.
Wow, that's so exciting. And how are you marketing your books?
That is the part that I'm trying to learn,
Hmm.
because every step I'm learning on the way. So marketing, so to my understanding, what marketing is that you would first of all submit to all the reviews, get your editorial reviews as well, and then try to perhaps buying some of the ads. I also am reaching out to, successful authors who have marketed online to see what is it that they do to engage with social media. And so right now, a lot of things that I'm planning is, launch events to have something that we can all celebrate and then something we can post on social media. And finally, I'm hoping to build a better follower on different platforms like Goodread and Instagram, and try to go from there.
Can you talk more?
Do you guys have any marketing
Well, I was going to
tips?
say you should listen, if you haven't already, to our publishing curriculum series, where we interviewed a lot
Oh,
of the
excellent.
different marketing and publicity people at traditional publishers, and maybe it'll give you some ideas.
Oh, perfect.
Um, but I'm curious, I'd love to hear a little bit more of your background. Like, do you have
Oh,
I know you wrote a book,
uh-huh.
an adult book, but do you have a business background? Do you have
Yeah, I think it's just
market,
fascinating
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, then like I wouldn't even know how to like find a printer to print the books, like like all these
Yes,
like
I
Ah,
wouldn't know how to create a spreadsheet
well,
with the financials. That would be the hard part for me.
Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. So, my background is in engineering and finance. So, being Asian, I have a mother who has decided my career path. So she said, "You're going to be an engineer." And so I got my engineering undergrad. I got my engineering master's. I worked in engineering for 10 years, and I said, "That's it. Filial duties complete. I'm going to do my own thing." So that's when I got an MBA. And at that time, I never thought MBA will help me. I thought it would be something that I would love to learn, but I didn't think that would really help me in because the work that I do is in construction engineering, and they don't necessarily need engineers to be business people.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's where a lot of the business skills came in. So the first step after I signed up Cara Olivia was to find a printer because you look at all of the costs, and then that is something that will, make or break you. And if you
Mhm.
don't have a good printer with a low cost and still high quality, you won't be able to, you
Mhm.
just can't start. And
And are you
so
printing overseas?
Yes, yes, I
Yes.
am.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's where the looking at the copyright pages, every single one of them, and then I
Yeah.
found one printer and I said, "You printed this book," and the book was Dragons Love Tacos. So
Yeah.
I saw that and I said, "I want to know how much this specific book cost." And then they gave me a number. I was like, "Okay, we can do that." Yeah, and then
But
after
that book is such a big, huge bestseller, though. They're probably printing 50,000 copies. How many
that.
copies are you printing?
So yeah, we have the first print run at 2000. So we thought
Mm-hmm.
about 2000, 2500. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so but I think 2000 is a decent number that they are happy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they print something so high like 50,000, they probably have to look for multiple printers to group together, perhaps. This is my guess, but maybe not.
But you're able to get a comparable unit. unit bound cost. Right?
It's
Yes,
yes.
that's great. Grace, do you have any questions?
Um, the thing that was coming to my head, which I don't know if we want to talk about it, but how are you feeling about all the tariffs and stuff coming? Is that going to mess things up?
Well, with the tariffs, at first I thought they would impact us as well, but looking at it a little bit closer, it seems like so juvenile books they were exempt, so they're still exempt. The whichever old tariffs will still apply. So that's the positive part. And Grace, you bring up a good point. It's not just the tariffs, but it's all the changes that's happening. So when I started 2024, I wanted to publish diverse books, and those are, the stories that I find most interesting. And being in DC, you kind of know certain words you can't use anymore because it really does cost people's jobs. And so we try to be very careful. So I thought about the message and the mission a lot more. And instead of diversity inclusion, we're changing it to cultural heritage and unity. And to me, the changing of the word doesn't change the mission. And what I wanted to do is to double down on the differences, on the diversity. So really dig into stories that has the roots of different people. And by doing that, I feel like it will showcase to everybody who's reading that how much shared humanity we have. And that will, I hope, bring us closer together. So that has been a little bit change from the type of books that I'm acquiring from you know, um, a little bit more popular to now very niche. So,
Yeah,
if
have
it's
you
okay,
found
yeah,
that the rebranding of, I mean, I completely understand, I completely on the know that uh the DEI label is like a kiss of death now, at least for me in terms of like visiting schools and things like that. Have you found like the
yeah.
rebranding to like unity and cultural heritage, has that been successful? Because I will do the
I
same
feel,
thing if it
yeah,
is.
yeah. I feel that the word unity really resonate with people now, and I find that very very nice and very comforting. That a lot of times I don't necessarily ask their political ideology, but when I say unity, I feel like whoever I talk to generally do feel the same way. So that part is the nice part. And then the cultural heritage part, I also talk to different, many of my different friends. They're, sometimes working specifically in a company's diversity department. And what do they do? And they say, it's really changing the words, but really to still keep that going as much as possible. And the positive part that I hear is that the diversity has really been in our culture for so long in the American culture that sometimes even if we don't use the words, it doesn't mean that it's going away, that we still want to work with all different kinds of people. We still want to have equality in all of our practices. So that's also the part where I find very, very comforting when speaking to different people who are trying
Mhm.
to navigate this.
So you are one woman show. Do
Yes.
you read all the submissions that come in yourself, or do you use the freelance editors to weed through them first and then you make the final decision? How does that work?
So I go through and then I do a brief read. So in the beginning, it's me going after authors saying like, "Hi,
Right.
I'm
Like,
new."
come publish with
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now we actually have a slush pile of our own, and then so I do go through them. And 10 titles per year is a lot, but it's also so little because
Mhm.
you read a lot of books and you're just like, this one's good, that one's good. And so we do have a acquisition editor, and then I bounce off all of the book ideas with her, even the ones I know that I want to acquire. So
Mhm.
that way I can get a better idea because, like I said, background is not in publishing or editing or English.
Are
So
you
English
finding
means,
that you're working mostly with authors directly, or are you also working with agents?
oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm mostly working directly with authors and illustrators.
Mhm.
That was one thing that was really surprising to me of how at least for me, how difficult it is to work with agents. So, um, with the and just to clarify, today I met a fantastic agent. So it's not that I've never met them. I met
Right.
one,
Yes.
and um, a lot of agents, if you're an author's agent, they usually will tell you not to go with a small publisher. So I won't even get to see the manuscript sometimes. And then with the illustrator agent, they also try to steer them away. And even if we meet all of their asks, for example, for Illustrator, your advance or fee is the amount that you probably won't earn out unless it's a bestseller. So they're still asking in terms of, marketing and sales. And even though I'm kind of saying I'm working on it, um, they will still say no. So that's kind of um, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah.
that is how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so just in a nut, I don't know if we can do it in a nutshell, but like because I think we have a lot of authors and illustrators who listen. So what would you say like the pros and cons for authors and illustrators to would be to publish with you? Like I can already see like a big pro is that if you don't have an agent, it's a big pro. They can
Oh
just
yeah.
go straight to you. So like that's a big
Oh,
pro. But
absolutely.
like so
Yeah.
what do you think the pros and cons are?
Mm. So the pros and cons, absolutely, agent is one thing. I would prefer if you come without an agent. Not that I mind them, but sometimes I just don't get the manuscript or
It's,
being
and,
able
you know,
to
it's
sign the
sometimes it's
contract.
and it's difficult for authors these days to get agents too. So like if you, so that's why I'm like it could be a big pro. So sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So for me, one of the other thing is that I feel like a lot of the pressure is put on authors to create, to polish, to beta read, and then to do all sorts of things to have a very polished manuscript to hand to the publisher. And for me, if you have a good idea, if your query letter and your manuscript looks, very professional, and there are parts of it that I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we can work with that. That's what editors are for. And so I have worked with, and here's the other thing about publishing. Usually, I believe it's one editor per book. For me, I'm like all the editors, all the editors. You want writing coach, I'll get you a writing coach. You want another editor to look at it, I'll give you another editor. Whatever it is that you need to make it the best book. And so if you have something where you believe in the message, you're really feeling that story and you feel like you're kind of there and then you know um probably getting rejected just because there's that gap and you can't tell where that gap is, then that's what our people are for. And then being able to really being able to tell have your input valued by the illustrator. I think that's also the important part. Like some of our authors, they kind of say like, I envisioned this page to be like that. And then I think the illustrators are very receptive of that as well. So yeah, and finally, marketing, having you involved in everything, uh, from start to finish. I hope, it's a good collaborative process that people would enjoy.
So
It's
for example, Julie, if you feel like, oh, this author needs Julie's help, then you would pay for Julie to work with this author. Is that
Yes,
how? Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
benefit.
I
yeah.
feel that, I can do that with picture books, but not if I was
Right.
doing
A
like,
novel.
yeah, then that would maybe be more problematic. But for now, I think it's absolutely doable. So
Mhm.
I was laughing because it was reminding me, Alvina, about how we were talking about our types of leadership last episode. And I
Mhm.
feel like the traditional publishing is like what you were I was saying, like, oh, that's the kind of leadership you are. It's like the what was it? Where you kind of like have the idea and you're like, you can more of a
Like
anyway,
leading
leading
visionary,
leading
like
leadership. But I
mhm.
feel like what Janet is offering is like the coaching leadership, like so it's like where it's the coaching and it's collaborative. So I feel like if you're the kind of author that wants like the coaching collaborative leader, then maybe that's what the pro is there.
Mhm.
So
All right. So I'm also curious, since you're the one woman company is how do you structure your working day? Do you work 9 to 5? Do you work all the time? How is that working?
Yes, actually, I feel like now I'm working more like 16 hours a day,
Okay.
because this is not my job.
Oh
So,
gosh, you have
yeah,
another
I have
job.
a
Oh,
day job. Yeah, so
Oh.
9 to 5, I'm working on my day job, and
Mhm.
then during early mornings, and then a lot of times during the evening. So, a 9 p.m. end time is very luxurious. So a
Oh
lot of times
wow.
it goes to 10, and but it really doesn't feel like work in that sense.
Yeah.
Everything is just very, very joyful. And I'm a bit ADHD, and so it really plugs into everything because I got to think about this, I got to think about that, and then like changing around. It's very, very enjoyable.
Hmm.
But yeah, to more about my day. A lot of it, I like to talk to people, talk to authors and illustrators, just to make sure that we're vibing the same, together. And there is a lot of contract writing. So that that is something
And do
that
you
I
do that
thought.
yourself, or do you have a lawyer or a contracts
uh,
person that you work with?
I I do have a lawyer who drafts up something and then it explained to me exactly what I can change and what I can't change,
Yeah.
because otherwise it will be so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Oh,
just coordinating things, making sure that illustration production is running on schedule, which I'm not great at, but I'm
but
getting help. So, so
yes.
yeah.
I mean that, yeah, you are you're every you wear every hat, basically. The managing editorial hat, production hat. Yes.
and so
Um,
how do you get your books into bookstores and stuff? Like that's I guess
it's
that goes
Ingram
back to
is
oh well,
distributing.
yeah, I guess I meant more like how do you get them to know to
To
I
to,
guess
to
it goes back to the
order.
marketing, you know?
Or
Yeah,
sales, I guess. So
Yes.
are
yeah,
there sales reps with
Yeah, that's what I
Ingram
was
who are
asking.
selling to Barnes
yeah.
and Noble, for
Yeah,
example?
yeah. So Ingram has different sales rep for
Okay.
library, for public schools, for Barnes& and Noble International. So I'm actually attending their in-person sales conference for the fall, and I've scheduled a lot of meetings. So I'm going to talk to everybody and let them know we're here and we got good books and you got to buy them.
So
So
do you present your books to Ingram?
yes, yes,
Okay. So
yeah,
it's kind of
and
like our launch. We have our launch meeting and our sales conference. So you have like a
yes,
mini little, like, this is
yeah,
what this book is, and this is why it's great.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
We
I get
had
it
the
now. I wasn't understanding the whole like Ingram has the
Distribution.
sales force. Yeah. I mean I knew they had distribution because like, you know, like my local
Yeah.
bookstore will like, oh, I'll get it from Ingram's, you know, like
Yeah.
I didn't understand that Ingram's had their own like
Right.
sales force.
Well, it's similar to, so Hachette distributes other companies' books. So we distribute Abrams, for example. And so
Uh-huh.
Abrams does have some in-house salespeople, but we, like our field sales reps, sell Abrams books into bookstores. So and PRH is a distributor of other publishers. So they're, and they're just different levels of distribution. So it sounds like for you, Ingram does all of the sales for you,
Yeah.
for
Uh,
everybody.
yeah, we're still hoping to do more direct sales. So I just had my first book fair at
Oh.
locally, so that went okay.
Mhm.
Bad. And I'm hoping to start, for each book to identify, specialty stores or indie bookstores just around
Mhm.
each author's local area, and then just start calling and see if they are willing to work with publishers because not all the time they do, and that's fine because if you're a small bookstore, you don't want to call like manage orders from 50 publishers.
What about
But
international
if they can,
sales?
Ingram does international as well.
Okay,
So
great.
yeah, how well they do it, I'm not quite sure.
Yes, I
But we
guess
will
you'll find
see.
out. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
so what kind of books are you looking for? So if there's an author and illustrator who's uh like thinking about submitting to you, like what kind of book are is the book that you are I know you talked about diversity. I know you talked about unity and cultural appreciation. But like, what are the things that you are searching for? Just to give people who are interested an idea.
Yeah. So something really as niche as possible now. So it's something that is within your family, within your heritage, and then stories from that. So kind of giving an example. So one of the manuscript that we're working with, it's of the Karen people, who is indigenous people to Thailand and Myanmar. And so it's their kind of Sleeping Beauty story. So something like that, where before I read the manuscript, I didn't know about Karen culture. So something very, very niche like that.
Specific. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, something just
So
really,
in
sparks
some
us.
ways, the more niche, the better.
Yes, I think so. I think so.
That was
And
lovely.
I feel, yeah, I can that can be the sole thing list that that I build, and I
Mhm.
can do that because I'm the publisher. So
Yes.
yeah,
And
Love
that's
that.
lovely because that's where an indie publisher like you can really fill in the cracks of what the big publishers don't do, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. What is something that you wish you knew about the publishing industry before you got into it?
well, as a person who deals with spreadsheets, I always wish that I had better assumptions. But right
Mm.
now, it doesn't look like we're going bankrupt, so that's great. But the other things are, I would say agents is the biggest one, the biggest
Mm,
surprise. But aside from that, I feel like every things are becoming more clear with each step I go, and then uh, knowing that so far I'm able to meet those challenges is I feel pretty good. But hopefully I can continue to
mhm.
not hopefully I will continue
Yes.
to uh, to market, to sell, and then to keep a title for running as long as possible. So those are my
Great.
goals.
All right. Should we ask one more question? Grace, do
Sure.
you want
The
to ask the
last
last?
question that we always ask everybody in this curriculum has been, what is your favorite part of your job and what is your least favorite? You can start with the least favorite. End on a happy note.
Yeah. My least favorite is I have to say right now, sometimes not having been in publishing and not having just having the brief working with as an admirer of authors and illustrators, I haven't really understood the very all all the different hearts of the authors. So
Mhm.
while I feel like I have the best intention to bring their work to the best possible light, sometimes I think I still perhaps like say the wrong things or tread on the wrong shoes, or yeah, and that part is my least favorite because um yeah, because
Because you had such great intentions and
yeah,
yeah.
so sometimes that happens, not too often, I'm very happy to say.
Mhm.
Um, but my favorite part is when people come together and then you can tell, for example, our art director is just super psyched about this one project, and then we get to tell the author or the illustrator, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, really?" And then we're like, "Yeah, this is good stuff." And so yeah, bring that energy, that joy to the creators. That part is really
Mhm.
my favorite.
Yeah. Well, all very exciting, and I wish you all the best. We're gonna keep an eye out for your debut list this fall.
Thank you.
Fortune cookies.
Okay, so let's move on to our fortune cookie segment. We thought we'd just keep it easy for the three of us and talk about what we've been reading lately. Grace, why don't you start? What have you been reading?
Let's see. I think last time we talked about this, I was reading The Curious Kitten at the Chibineco Kitchen. I keep messing up that word, Chibineco. Um, anyway, I finished that and I really loved it. It was so wonderful and I cried, but it was like so healing. That's why I'm like really into this Japanese quote unquote healing fiction. So I finished that and I recommend it. But right now I just started reading Jeannie Birdsall's new book, The Library of Unruly Treasures, and it comes out in August. So she gave me like a little PDF of it to read. I haven't read much of it yet, just like just like her author's letter in like the first page, but it seems really, really charming. It feels like kind of like The Borrowers, but like in Boston, Massachusetts. Like, well, she's the first page, she's like flying into Boston. So I'm really excited that it's like based in Massachusetts. So I bet it's going to be wonderful. So look for The Library of Unruly Treasures in August by Jeannie Birdsall.
Exciting. Janet, how about you? What have you been reading?
So I just finished reading Red Side Story by Jasper Ford. And this is the sequel to, I think the first book is called Shades of Grey, but that was about like 10 years ago that he published that. And it was a fantastic story. So I don't get to read a lot of fiction now. I read mostly memoirs for publishers and how to do marketing. So that one was really, it was a lot of fun.
Nice. I just read a book called Caucasia by Dan Z. Senna, and it's actually an older book. It came out in 1998, so I think it's considered kind of a modern classic. And I think I heard someone talk about her newest book, which just came out, I think, last year on a podcast, and then they said, but you should go back and read her first book, Caucasia. So it's a novel, it's an adult novel, but the protagonist is a child and then a teenager all the way through. So I think it will appeal to middle grade and young adult readers. And it's a coming of age story about two multiracial sisters. And they're biracial. So the father is Black, mother is white. And similarly to what we talk about with Jewel Parker Rhodes and her children, one daughter looks more Black and the other daughter looks white. And it's the story of, their battles in life and what they have to encounter. And actually, Grace, it's also set in Boston, in the Boston area. So that was fun to, they talk about just familiar places in Boston that I remember from living there. And it's a really, really great book. It made me want to read her other books. So actually, I'm reading another one of her books right now, which is very, very different. And then we just bought another of her books. And we found out she's actually married to Percival Everett, who wrote James.
Yeah.
Which, so it's a very talented family.
Yeah.
They have two kids. So that's exciting. All right. So now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. I can start this week. I got my second shingles shot yesterday, which
How are you feeling?
So that's what I'm grateful for, is that I feel okay. I was a little nervous because, Grace, I know you had a really bad reaction to your second shot. And when I got the shot, the pharmacist said, pretty much everyone has a bad reaction. And so far, I feel okay, maybe a little tired, but I did preemptively take Tylenol both last night and this morning. So maybe I'll knock on wood. She said, 24 to 36 hours later, and then you should be fine. So it's been 24 hours already.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's amazing if it doesn't affect you.
Yeah. So I guess I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful that the shingles vaccine exists, because I've heard that getting shingles is really terrible. So that's what I'm grateful for. Grace, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful that I finished my taxes. I finished, I was able to, I have enough money in the bank to pay what I owe, so that's good. So I feel very, very grateful for those things. And I'm really grateful that spring is coming. So those are the two big things right now.
I mean, it's supposedly here already, but it's very cold.
Still feels cold, but but it's like brighter, you know what I mean? Like, and the sun rises earlier. So it's, to me, it's still coming.
Right. Janet, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my husband, Jeff. Yeah,
Yay.
so I feel, every day I tell him everything, and he's always very stoic, and so I'm very grateful that I get to talk about these things and then have somebody listen to me. So
Yay.
yeah.
Hooray for husbands. We're all grateful for our
Yeah.
husbands. All right,
Mostly.
and that
I had to say that because he edits
Alex,
this.
we're very grateful for you. So that was the Independent Publishing with Janet Bruins episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Alex at Paceyworks Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
And tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever, or send us a message via Instagram at bookfriendsforever_podcast, or via our website, bookfriendsforever.com. And please join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes.
I'm Alvina Ling, and you can find me at Planet Alvina on TikTok and at Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. Janet, where can people find you?
Our website is picnicheist.com, and I'm on Instagram, Janet Bruins, and our Picnic Heist Instagram is Picnic Heist, so easy to remember.
Yay. And I'm Grace Lynn, and you can find me at Pacey Lynn on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lynn on Facebook, and Grace Lynn author on TikTok, sort of, but I'm not really on there that often. But anyway, find me somewhere.
Yes. Have a great week.
And don't forget to read. Bye.
Hi everyone! Welcome to the After Episode Extra. Here I share quick culture, one of the real-life inspirations behind my middle grade novel, The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon. Enjoy! In front of the Chinatown gates, you'll often see a pair of stone lions. Now the lion on the right, the male lion, holds a ball. You might be surprised that the sphere this ferocious lion is holding is not supposed to be some sort of weapon or trophy, but a ball made of silk. Why? Well, the answer might lie with the pattern on the ball, because many of these lions hold a ball that is covered with the flower of life pattern. It is a pattern that is both simple and complex at the same time, and has been revered in both the ancient and modern world, even today considered one of the most sacred patterns of the universe. The flower of life pattern consists of evenly spaced, overlapping circles to form an infinite pattern of symmetric flowers. Each circle builds upon the next, the intersection of each creating the flower pattern. The pattern is continuous and connected, so it has come to represent the interconnectedness of all life and creation. The flower of life symbol is seen as a reminder of life's origin point, and once you are familiar with it, you can see it everywhere. Look at the dahlia flower and see how the petals spread outward to infinity, or stare at the inside of a sunflower and see the repeating order of the seeds as they wind around and around, just like the flower of life pattern. The flower of life can be found in cultures all across the world, from ancient temples in Egypt to the cathedrals in Europe and to the spheres under the paw of the guardian lions in China and Chinatowns all over the world. So, when the Chinese lion holds a ball embroidered with the flower of life, it means he is protecting the unity of the world and its continuous life. It is a grave duty as well as an honor, and the lion in my book takes his responsibility very seriously. Unfortunately, his son does not, which accidentally causes quite a calamity. Find out what happens in my book, The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon.